we're actually gonna put up some lumber. Well, we're digging straight into it. Started out with a little bit of math, right or wrong. Laser set up, that's shooting a beam out onto the wall. Gonna start with getting our ledgers up, then the posts, and in true spruce stomper fashion, we like to employ holders instead of helpers. Not having a helper is not so bad. The Holden sticks are marked just a little bit shorter than the finished height of that ledger actually needs to be. So I got a little bit of play up and down, because if your holding stick is too long, well, you can't shorten that wood on the fly, but you can always lift your piece up. Now I just happen to have a box of just these number 9 GRK structural screws. They're obviously not what's gonna hold the ledger. It requires a lot more shear strength than just a couple of these. But for all purposes of just tacking it in place, much easier. I find it easier to get into a rhythm and come back with the finished structural screw. I think that's what we're gonna go with. I think lag bolts probably went the way of the dodo bird, so. Well, they're, they're chainsaw straight. So we're putting up the ledger first. You might be wondering why not just put up the posts and the beams and get started with the bigger, funner stuff. But this way, when we put the posts up, I can brace from the ledger to the posts and not poke any holes or risk damaging our beautiful new paint job here. So it also sets the level for everything. The height, I got a reference point all the way around the building, and the material was first in the pile. Here's the real reason. Going anywhere. You're doing the drill shake, eh? Like this, like, oh, please don't drop that screw. My arm will never hold this again. That's a snug fit. Man, would you look at that? We're already on the home stretch. Last wall, it only takes a couple boards. Home free. I think we're gonna put up a couple here maybe. I got enough left over. It'll just create that full band look, a belly band all the way around, and it looks rather sassy. It makes the space feel bigger right now, but then I think quickly it'll start to make the space feel smaller. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see what it feels like. It's like rearranging the furniture, It's pretty cool. A smarter man than myself probably would have marked the stud locations a bit better. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the remnants of the bark off here where there was wane on the board. The wane in the board is fine. I just don't want to leave any of the bark because it'll trap moisture, and I just don't want that back there. So there. Trying to maximize space. For guys that are irritated by things that don't land on an even number or something, this might not be for you, but I just maximized. I want to get over as close to the door as possible. So that worked out to 86th and 8th. Just staying back of those brackets a little bit. I have my 86th and 8th mark down there, 86th and 8th mark down there, and I shoot out 2 beams like that out of the layout station on those marks, and then I know I'm completely parallel with this outside wall. We want to do From here out, 16 feet. And because we're limited with the trees that were available to us in cutting all of this lumber, if you haven't seen those, this was all milled here on site in the portable band mill. Lumber to span 16 feet. That's a mighty tree. So we cut her in half, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. So you end up with a post. Well, I mean, we'll put a couple nails in it, we'll hang some extension cords, it'll be awesome anyway. So we measured out 8 feet from the back to our first pole here. You can see the layout. Next step, we're gonna head outdoors. We gotta cut a little metal, cut a few shims. I'll tell you what that's all about. We're rocking leftovers. This is just some 5/8 ready rod that I had left over from another job. We need something not to anchor. And now, this is where we might have varying opinions. I'm not worried about anchoring the posts to the floor. I am more concerned with keeping the post stationary. So in the event that it did get bumped, it can't slide around, it can't go anywhere. What I will do is run some concrete anchors, smaller diameter. We're not having to get crazy. Probably in from the side so the fasteners are hidden, down from the top. Picture like a Tapcon screw, but less shitty. What we're really worried about is any lateral force. So something hitting that post, and we don't want the bottom to be able to do some of these, and we want something with good shear force. So we're gonna take and dowel this 5/8 rod into the concrete. We'll get it in there a good 3-4 inches, and then it'll be up inside the post, you know, a good 6 inches or so, and that'll give that just a little bit of support. If you run your truck or your tractor into anything made of wood with any speed on, it really doesn't matter what it's anchored down with now, does it? So I'll tell you, nothing wreaks havoc on a cold battery like the cordless grinder. Okay, I'll show you what I got going on here with regards to shims that I was referencing. So these are wooden posts, and they're gonna be sat on the concrete floor. Now I'd like a little bit of separation between the two. Similar as if in traditional frame construction, you'd put a sill plate gasket down or some sort of break between the concrete and the wood. Because water, well, we don't want it to wick up into the wood. I don't think it'd do a ton of damage in here, but my other concern is that if I do thaw out a vehicle or something in here, and there's a reasonable amount of water on the floor, there's no floor drain in this shop. I didn't want one at the time. That would expose the bottom of these posts to even more water, or it could. So what I happen to have here is just some 1/2 inch heavy plastic. Like this is like an industrial plastic of some sort. I'll tell you, bless my grandfather. The man saved everything. That's where this stuff came from, and I'm grateful to have it and put it back to use. So I got enough to do the bottom of all 10 posts that we have to do. So I'm gonna cut pieces that'll attach basically to the bottom of these 8x8s. I'm gonna keep it back maybe 3/4 of an inch from the edges, so it looks like there's just a bit of a relief. And what we'll do is we'll probably trim the bottom of the posts of some sort at some point. I think that'd look classy. And if that trim gets a little wet or damaged, it can just be sacrificial. But the dangers of doing layout with a pencil on the floor, I spilled a beer over there and it almost washed the pencil line off. See, nothing's perfect, right? I didn't have enough material to cut them in one piece. So I utilized what I had, and we're gonna have basically 2. We'll make it 7x7, so I'll have a bit of a 1/2 inch reveal around the edges, and that will just sit firmly down on that. And we got our waterproof, rot-proof, mold-proof, water barrier guard of plastic. Guy should weigh one out of curiosity. Find the shallowest spot here. It's gonna be right over there somewhere. I mean, it's all gonna be pretty square. We'll see how she sits on the floor. Might need a little trimming, but I was all set to cut. Had no juice. You know, a smart man would do this, eh? How spoiled is the modern man, eh? With his tools now, we curse the trusty extension cord, I'll tell you. You know what would save us a lot of work? A bigger skill saw. Never needed a bigger one. They make, I think it's a 10 1/4 and then a 16 1/4. Have I got that right? I think that's the way sizing goes. Okay, well, we'll get real fancy to finish it off here. I have a Japanese pole saw that was, well, it was dull probably about 100 cuts ago. And just like that, we're good in all directions. What you're looking for is to make sure it's sitting flat, right? I mean, if it's gonna bear weight, it might as well bear weight on the full face of the post. So a little bit of change in plan. So because our two shims are not a solid piece and they have a split in the middle, well, that middle split is exactly where we're gonna need to drill our hole for our dowel in the floor. So I thought best to drill the hole first, and then we can just simply notch these out for clearance rather than trying to get a good start off a drill bit in that crack. Some relatively square. There we go. Clear that hole out real good like that. So excited, you know. I can't explain through the video camera how satisfying this is. Everything. We're thinking way back to building this shop, my dad helping me stand up walls. I hope I can find a picture somewhere, us standing the walls with the old International tractor that I had and doing the concrete work with the horrible old backhoe that was here that I had, and all kinds of struggles, but when you look back, it was nothing but good times. And then the whole summer of milling lumber to this point, doing this, and all the other exciting things we got planned for this building. It's just a real satisfying project. As you can see, you've got our X on the floor right there. Ta-da! Nothing to it. Ah, crap, I'm wearing a different hat, aren't I? It's the next day, I fibbed. The beam will go right up there. We'll just have to trim that ledger back a little hair, but I'm actually pleased about it because it'll tie in and it'll look like it was meant to be, so onward, more posts. Doesn't really matter which way this goes on. Whoop. One end at a time. So what we're gonna do on this side is just keep it between us, is that this side's only gonna be 83 inches and that other side was 86 1/8 because we're just driving for every little bit we can. Okay, from the drywall out to this seam we know is 83. Yeah. See, I was confident until I said it out loud. So we know we're 83. So I'll show you guys the laser setup that I couldn't show you on the other side because I went ahead and did it by myself. You know where the pencil mark is? When you're trying to line up the laser, it's good if you just take something that's a little bit bigger than the line and say, okay, well that'll get us in the neighborhood. If we get her on the tip of that screw, because I'll be able to see that from 20 feet away, I can't see the pencil line from 20 feet away, get you in the ballpark, and again, I just, you know, I'm never trying to say eliminate the need for another person, but it's just not always feasible. All right, so all I do when I'm doing layout like this is I get it set up roughly in the middle. This will actually shoot a laser. I think it doesn't shoot a visible laser this long, but it's good up to like 360 feet or something with the receiver. It'll go further, but it says it maintains accuracy up until that point. So it's an LA 180 from Stabila. You can see here, it's gonna shoot out vertical lines here, here, and here. And then of course, if I click another button here, there's your horizontal beam. But you can shut some of them off. See, you can shut them off as you go, so it doesn't use up so much battery. But I get her dialed in the middle. We know our reference point down there is the tip of the screw. And then our reference point at that end is that gap beside the 1x4. It's not like highly technical. It takes a little bit of just trial and error. If you can see both points, I simply just get it lined up on one end. I see how far it's out on the other, and I just move the stand over a little bit until I get it. It takes a second or two, but then you have a perfectly parallel line the whole way. This is our mark here for the center of the post, 4 inches either side. And then you can just run your speed square off the laser line per square, and then just do your layout for your posts. Run them long. And again, this isn't wildly critical. The more important part is where we're gonna drill that hole, because that's what's gonna hold everything in place. Of course, don't forget to draw a line along the laser line. Draw, there'll be no more line there. And if you're super worried about it, which I figured out ahead of time, is good to know your cross-section dimension, 11.5, 11.5. Double check that this is 4 to center, 4 to center, and it's just peace of mind that way. And with that, friends, lands our last 2 posts. And through the magic of editing, these 2, and a little extra work happened over in that corner. That's all the time we have for this video. You can see what the next adventure might be. We'll see if they come in order. As always, I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you on the next one.